and welcome to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. And my name is Jason J. Rock Houston. I'm so happy to be speaking to my good friends, drummer Steve Dorssom and lead singer Gordon Tittsworth from the band Images of Eden. Now, welcome to the show again, guys. And we're talking to you today because you've been on a tour with Yngwie Malmsteen. Now, the tour just launched, about a month ago?
Actually, we started 2 weeks ago. Yeah, almost 2 weeks exactly now.
Okay, yeah, I was asking because I remember the tour was initially announced like a number of months ago, but I think you guys just barely started, like you said, 2 weeks ago. So initially, John5 was also on the tour, and then he kind of bowed out. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, has another band been added, or are you guys just the other band now besides Yngwie?
Yeah, I guess sort of. We kind of just moved up a rung on the ladder on the billing for the tour.
That's cool.
There was really no replacements for that. I mean, when he bowed out of the tour and the 3 weeks that were left to launch the tour, it wasn't enough time to do that contractually with anyone, really. And I'm not sure all of his reasonings why he didn't come out, but I know he was going to, and then at the last minute he pulled. So, it's fine because it puts a little bit of more focus on Images of Eden, to be honest with you.
I think that's cool because, even if John5 would have stayed on the tour, it would have really been good for you guys too, because either way, because then you have two, the two acts that come on before you, John5 and obviously Yngwie's a headliner, two masterful guitar players, and then you guys come on, you're very, quite different from what you'd expect as far as an opening band for Yngwie Malmsteen, so it kind of works out for you guys.
Yeah, and another thing, it like Steve's saying, it kind of pulled us up on the ladder one rung, but it also kind of, we play a later set, so the venues are a little more packed at that point, and so it definitely puts a little bit more of a spotlight on us. So, yeah, we were sorry to see him bow out, but considering all the circumstances, it kind of worked out in our favor a little bit. Yeah,
it really does, and share with us how you guys first got this opportunity. Was it just through your management, or because this is probably the highest profile tour you guys have been on, right?
Yeah, a few years ago we went on the Doral Pesh and Metal Church co-headliner tour in 2019, and that was really good. But, this one right here, when we were putting the Angel Born album together and all the marketing and promotional things that we wanted to do for it, because it is a great record, and I really encourage everybody to pick it up if you haven't already. But with that being said, we wanted to really book a high-end, high-visibility tour to tour this record with. It was very important to us. So I know with the COVID thing and the lack of touring, and then the touring that did start back up, a lot of the big boys are sitting at home on the couch right now. And not like toys, so we feel very lucky that we get to do this. But to answer your question, Yngwie's management contacted our record label, put the deal out there on the table, and we were interested in it, and so we just worked directly with our record label, our in-house management team, which is Gordon and I, and we signed the deal to get on the tour with them.
That speaks volumes right there, because the fact that his you guys are already kind of out there over the last couple of years, but the fact that his management team's already aware of this band Images of Eden, I think that speaks volumes, and the fact that they wanted to get you on the tour wasn't it wasn't a matter of your management trying to reach out to them.
It kind of worked out, and not only that is once they took our interest, they had to take our electronic EPK that's kind of behind the scenes for listening purposes, seeing our video, our music, just giving a whole snapshot overview of our band. It had to still be improved by the man himself, Yngwie Malmsteen. So he wanted someone very musical to open up for him to really complement what he was trying to do, and he liked it, and he approved it, and so we're on.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I was talking about last time I interviewed you guys about, the album at that time had just been released, and the fact that, if you listen to any of the songs on the album, they really, kind of stand out on it. Each individual song, if you know what I mean, and you guys can do everything from metal to hard rock and everything in between, and I think that's why you have a broader kind of appeal to a lot of people. Besides, just metal and hard rock, you can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and that's definitely by design too.
Yeah.
We and the thing is, it really helps us when it comes to tour time, because we can tailor our set list between Angel Born and Soul Rise to whomever we're touring with. If we happen to be touring with a heavier band, we'll grab some heavier songs.
if we happen to be touring with a little more prog band, we can kind of go that route. So it definitely works in our favor, and that's something that we did consciously.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we've got a nice little bucket to pull from, depending on who we go out with, so we complement it correctly.
Yeah,
that's a cool thing. Like Gordon said, that was by design. We want to be very well rounded, very well versed. So there's something for everyone, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I think is appealing about this band, because to me, I mean, AC/DC to me is probably maybe even Motorhead, kind of a few bands that can kind of get away with where every song kind of sounds the same. You know, bands like that can kind of, but I think, you know, when you have like a sound like what you guys do, it kind of appeals to everybody. It makes, you know, broadens your horizons, broadens you know, your fan base.
And you know what, we were really hoping that was the case, and really glad that you acknowledged that, and you kind of take that a step further. Not just the sound, but we're trying to go against the grain a little bit. There's so much negativity in the world right now, not just with COVID and what it produced, but we're trying to be a bit of a light in a dark world. And when we've been out here 2 weeks, and it's pretty dark out here, and it's very obvious that people have been affected, all we want to do is shine some light onto you, bring a positive message, a strong message, put a smile on your face, rock your faces off, obviously. But if you can leave the venue in just a little bit better place than when you came in, we've done our job, man, and that's what we really want to do too.
If you entertain your fans, as they say, you're already halfway doing the job there. And what has it been like there out tour? You know, this post-COVID, or like you made the point early on in the interview here that a lot of bands are just kind of sitting back and like, we're not even going to do any live shows. We're not releasing any new music until after all this COVID stuff. And who hell knows when that's going to be? So first of all, I respect the fact that you guys continue to put out new music, you know, because some bands aren't even doing that.
Yeah, and you know, and it's a lot of bands, they want to be out on the road right now, and it just because of the backlog, all the cancellations from the year before, sprinkled in with some new tours that are popping up, like the one we are on now. But let's face it, I mean, the guys who rely on this as their income, you can only sit home for so long. You've got to go out and you got to work. You know, and I think in the Yngwie's case, I mean, he was ready to go back to work. No more sitting around. I mean, and you know, and like Gordon said earlier, it's a dark world out there to tour right now, man. There's a lot of obstacles that we have to deal with on a nightly basis. A lot of new things that we weren't aware of or not prepared for and whatnot. But so it's adapt and overcome every day. Yeah, I mean, people want to get out right now. I do think it's getting better. I mean, it's relaxing up on the club level and the vaccination mandates and all that stuff. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, we went through the Northeast. I mean, one venue really made us show the documentation. You know, the rest of them are pretty loose on it. You know?
They're doing that with even the bands, like where the band's playing that night, got to prove they're vaccinated or whatever, huh?
And that's what I'm referring to, you know. I mean, they wouldn't even let us through the door in New York unless we had it, but then later on, everybody else is slipping through the back door. So it's a you know,
I mean,
a process that's not really working well, but you know, at the same time, you just got to be careful on your own due diligence, you know, and just be safe. And we're all trying to do that.
Find a way to kind of coexist, as they say. You know, it's funny where I live in LA. You know, I live in LA, and anywhere you go in LA County, pretty much you got to mask up. They got all these mandates, and you got to show all that stuff. Even like to get into a restaurant, you go 5 miles down the street, you're in Orange County, and then you pretty much walk around maskless, and it's not so strict. It's just really weird depending on where you are, you know.
Yeah, and you know, another thing too, we just want to go on record to say we do not in any way, shape, or form condone this whole everything, this whole mandate. I mean, unfortunately we're players in the game. We have two options. We either have to abide by the overreach or sit home. Sit home, and when everybody's sitting home, like Steve was saying, we want to get out there. I mean, when everybody was sitting there, COVID drove us to push forward. I mean, we released an album, we mixed and released an album, shot 4 videos, got, you know, re-signed with our label all during COVID. So we're like, this is a great time when the world is paused for us to really push forward, and here we are. Yeah,
you know, and you make a couple good points there, and the thing with me is, I really do think, as you said, a lot of it is overreach. I mean, if for no other reason, a lot of it, you know, a lot of these politicians, they finally realize, oh wait, we can, we can use all these little things to kind of mandate everybody, and we get this extra power that we didn't have before. I mean, even the governor here in California, he recently extended the emergency emergency requirements here in California. He's going to extend his emergency powers until next March. He's like, but we're having an emergency, but he's out of town and stuff. You know what I mean? So they're just kind of doing what they can get away with. And at the same time, it surprises me how willing a lot of people are able to just are so willing to just kind of go along with it. Not okay. Well, I guess this is what we have to do.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because we try to stay neutral, but it's very hard because we do have strong opinions.
Yeah.
We don't want to throw them out there because
I hear you.
We definitely want to be appealing to everybody. But the thing is, I think we gave our opinion in our new video, which is Animation in a Still World, and anybody who hasn't seen it, we felt the need to be bold and to put out a very bold statement about how the media is lying to us. The media is divisive.
Yeah.
They are controlling. They are not telling us the truth. If you believe the media is telling you the truth, you're either asleep or in massive denial.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is this. The media is no longer information. It is biased propaganda used to divide and to instill fear. So we're kind of telling opinion in a video.
Yeah, well, I did.
Much needed truth that's out there. And, the thing is, if it offends you, sorry, then it's the truth. We are not being told the honest truth. We are being lied to.
Well, I dig that, and I respect you guys that much more for putting such a statement out there through your music video, through your song, because here's the thing that really kind of upsets me. I remember when I was growing up, and rock fans were united in this aspect. When I remember when they had the PMRC, and they were trying to, all these senators' wives were trying to, censor some of my favorite records and trying to stop us from buying the records we wanted to buy. People were united. You had guys like Dee Snider, who were at the time were the anti-establishment, and now a guy like that now, once one of my huge rock heroes, he wants to be among the elites, which the very people that were trying to ban his records, for example, he's now going online and mask shaming people, telling people, if you don't wear a mask, you're spreading the disease, and like you said, you look at the news media, and I'm all for people having their, you don't have to agree with what my view is. I'm cool with that, but I would much rather people have different opinions, have conversations. But it really goes to extreme when you watch the news, or even the President of the United States, they get on TV and they say such bold statements as, if you don't wear a mask, you're a murderer, you're killing people. I mean, that just takes it to the extreme. And you have the President of the United States, they asked him the other day, what do you think about all these people losing their jobs because of your mandate? They deserve to lose their job. They're just going so far to the extreme. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's, and I don't want to get too opinionated on this, but I mean, it's a man-made disease that was unleashed on us all.
Yeah.
And and I'm respecting it because I know it's killing people. I mean, we've lost friends and family within our band from that. So and I get that. So we're doing our due diligence to be careful and work around that stuff and be safe. But what we're referring to is the build-up to all this. This stuff was put out, and then they try to put a fix on it all, and then they mandate things, and then they control you. And it's just that it's an overall game if you look at it from afar. And that's the part we don't like. We respect there's a disease out that was made by man and unleashed on us, and we're trying to be safe from it. But the mandating thing and the control thing is what we're referring to. The lies from the media, all the above. It's all put in that video, in our opinion.
And
to add to that, the proof is in the history. We went from let's shut down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve to
almost 3 years.
Your neighbor get 3 shots or you get fired. And if you can't see the progression from that, again, you're sleeping.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys said all the last thing I'm going to say on the matter is, again, I think it's cool that you're using your music and your videos to get that message out, because so many people are afraid of being canceled. So many people are afraid of even kind of even just stating their opinion, because dare you be against the grain of what everybody else is supposed to think or what they're telling you. You have to think. I mean, even you go online and if you even say anything against Dr. Fauci I don't like wearing a mask. You get you'll get something from Facebook. They'll post something, to go to the COVID-19 page, but you're not stating the fact.
And I've even said, and I'll put the period on the end of this sentence. we definitely are going to speak our opinion because you need to put the truth out there. And I always said if a black Suburban showed up at my house, man, I take it as a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you guys also mentioned you're working towards a new album. So like, how long is the tour supposed to last?
Well, the tour is until the 18th of December. I think our last show is in Houston. Then we fly home, and we'll have the holiday season with the families. But as far as the sixth album, we've got about 11 working songs at various stages of completion. So I'm to a point to where I can see the snapshot and the big picture and the theme. So we're just going to hit that hard next year, and also still look for tour opportunities. So kind of be a little bit of a dual thing. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm going to be producing this album, mixing and mastering it. I'm sure I'm going to be consulting our producer Bill Matoyer, but I'm going to take a stab at it. And he even told me, "Hey, you should." So that's kind of where we are, and things are really going well with the writing process, and we have pretty high hopes for this one as well.
And you guys are still with Pavement, correct?
Yes, we are.
That's good, because they're, again, like we discussed in the previous interviews, they're a great little label. I love the way they support the acts, and so I'm assuming you expect the new album to be out sometime next year?
Yeah, I think so. Before the end of the next year, I think so.
You guys have
what Gordon alluded to also is trying to go out and maybe find a few more tour opportunities, because we still have this Angel Born record has only scratched the surface so far.
Yeah.
I mean, from when it came out in late March to us touring finally later in the year, in November, it was a pretty big gap. So we're really trying to push that record a little bit more. And but yeah, there's another record on the way before the end of next year for sure.
Yeah, because you guys, you just keep kind of putting, you've been pretty prolific as far as put out a new release almost every year. So I think that's going back to when I was growing up. Like I used to be a huge Kiss fan, and they'd have like sometimes 2 albums out a year. So that's pretty cool. Because a lot of people take 3-4 years between albums.
Well, our first 3 albums in the early days were 5 years apart, just because of the lack of support and the lack of just resources. But what we learned is, never take your foot off the gas. Keep that pedal to the ground. When you're touring, go work on the next album. As soon as you're done wrapping up mixing and mastering for one album, work on the next one. You have to be well ahead of where you want to be, because everything takes a lot longer than you expect. If you expect it to be a certain time frame, double it and add 20%. That's just basically the way it goes.
Yeah, and a lot of times bands, when they choose a song to cover, a lot of times maybe it's because they have a shortage of material. That's a thing they used to do back in the days. Even a band like the Dead Daisies almost guarantee every time they put out a new album, they have a cover on their album. You guys did a great cover of Triumph song last time around, and I thought, man, that's one of those great bands. I love the fact that you covered Triumph, because they're one of those bands. They were like huge back in the 70s, and they're one of those bands, sadly, that a lot of people have forgotten about.
Yeah, and when we were doing this record, we were the Angel Born record. Gordon and I were just toying with an idea of doing a cool cover song, kind of just as an in between from the last record until the new record comes out, just for fun. It was going to be strictly for fun. That was it. So I was thinking really hard of a cool song that nobody's covered before, but a classic that everybody knows that fits our MO, if you know what I mean, and what we deliver and the word we deliver, and then I heard that Fight the Good Fight song on the radio one day, and I just said, that's it. That's the perfect anthem for the world we live in today, is telling everybody, no matter how bad it gets, let's all just stick together and keep fighting the good fight.
I like that message, yeah.
And so, I even got a kind of a Christmas card from a media partner after I kind of was thinking about that. And he was just sending us a note, hey, Gordon, Steve, just keep up the good work and keep fighting the good fight. And I was like floored, and I stepped back for a minute. I go, that's kind of like a sign.
That's a message, yeah.
I'm like, we need to do this song. And I kind of asked Gordon and the guys, and they were all for it. But I'm going to tell you, it wasn't as easy to put together, produce, and record as you would think, because there's a criteria of not butchering a classic, well-known song, for one. Yeah. But then also, on the other side of it, is making it your own.
Yeah,
So it's a very fine line to balance, to make it your own, keep that classical structure intact, and still make it brilliant. I think we did that in this. It took us a little bit. We just had to kind of fumble with a few things to make sure we were on track. But once we were done with the final recordings and the mixing of it, was extremely happy with it. And then so, again, we weren't going to put this on the record. We let the record label hear it, and they were just floored. They go, you got to put this on the record. It's like, if you don't put this on the record, you guys are nuts. So Gordon and I thought about it. Okay, let's slip it in and find a right spot where it flows well. And then in addition to that, okay, it's going on the record. We got to do a music video for it. So, and as you know, I direct and produce all of our music videos in-house. So I came up with a treatment of fighting the good fight, of all of us guys on the road hitting it hard and going through that struggle every day just to make it to stage for y'all. And so we got all of our old video clips from our last tour. We went into a recording studio and actually filmed our performance shots of us actually recording the song. And we just mixed it all together and made a really cool video out of it.
Oh, that's totally awesome. You know, and what I love about when bands do a cover like that is like I said, in your case, you guys cover a Triumph song. A lot of people forgot about this great band that was back in the 70s and 80s. They were huge. And you know, when your video comes out, not only do they check out your music video, they find out, oh, who originally did this song? And then they go back and check out the original. And then, you know, maybe the original band starts getting some money coming their way that they haven't seen in a while, and that's always cool. I mean, you look at a band like Tesla; they always do great covers too, and they got great original music as well. But like Tommy Skeel, the original guitar player, he was telling me like Tesla had a huge hit, of course, with that song, that cover they did of Signs. Until their version, a lot of people had never heard that song before, and he was telling me when Tesla did their version of it, they had a bigger hit with it than the original artist, and that's always cool too, because, you know, then people go back and check out what came before.
Yeah, you know, to add to that, you absolutely nailed that on the head. When we got the album, when we got the video done, we hit up Triumph, and whoever runs their site got the song to the band. Gil Moore saw it.
Wow.
Sent it to the rest of the guys. Said, guys, you got to check this out. So Gil, Mike, and Rick all loved it. They liked it to the point to where they contacted us and said, can we have the master recording to put on our YouTube channel? And that kind of floored us, man. He said, talk about validation.
Oh, right there. I love that. I love hearing stories like that. And, you know, let me ask you guys, how, like, you said you heard the song one day on the radio. Were you much of a Triumph fan, either of you guys, before, or did you just kind of, like you said, kind of just discover the song and became aware later of who they were?
This has been one of my favorite songs for many, many years, and to be able to cover it, man, was a major blessing. I'm glad Steve suggested it.
Yeah, and likewise for me, Triumph has always been a really cool band back in the 80s and stuff that never really got the notoriety they probably deserved, you know? And I heard it on the radio one day. It was kind of a magical moment. It was like, I heard it and I go, that's it, that's the song, you know? And so that's kind of where we took off with it.
Because there were so many great bands that came out of Canada, but like, I'd say probably the biggest one, obviously, is Rush, and I think for years the top two Canadian bands were Rush and Triumph, and Rush always seemed to get a little more spotlight than the other. But Triumph back in the 70s, they were huge.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I bet you guys, I don't know if you've heard this, that coming out next year, they have a new, Triumph's going to be releasing like a documentary film. That'll be cool.
Yeah, awesome.
And you guys think you might do future covers? Because again, the problem I know you have is, unlike a lot of bands, you have your own great original materials. It is. You don't need to really be doing covers, but.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. We've been talking about a possible cover or so for the next, for the next album, or maybe not on the album, but just at least during the time. And we got a couple things up our sleeves. So I think our fans might be looking for something, and we might be able to deliver.
And it's also sort of fun, and it's kind of a challenge. I mean, especially if you take something that's never been redone before, because I don't like remaking a song that everybody's already remade. I like to be really, alone in that area, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of fun to kind of maybe find one that fits us and try to tackle it and see how it turns out. So this Good Fight came out so well. We may give it another stab at it. Whether it goes on the next record, I don't know. It could be, like Gordon said, like an in-between single that we may just put out. But guarantee this, whatever cover we may do, it's going to fit our MO and our message.
Oh, that's cool. You know, and another cool thing about doing a cover is, I mean, there's a track like that, which is such an obvious one maybe for you because you're such a huge fan of, that track. But you could also choose to cover a song that maybe not as many people are aware of even, or have heard it maybe, and then they get turned on through your version of the song.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of where we are. We're thinking, what's a great song that we believe in, that we like, that we can make our own, still do a good justice to, and have people say, hey, great job, but you stay true to the band and yourself. And that's a fine line, man.
Yeah, and you kind of already answered this, but do you think, like, as you guys start recording the stuff that's going to go on the next album, do you think you might release some singles in between that, or just put some things up online for people to kind of test out, see what kind of response you get?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet. Maybe. I mean, but really, we're gonna probably work on our full album, and if we do release something, it would probably be maybe a cover. I don't know yet. I mean, it's possible, I guess you could say, but I just don't know yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you something.
I was going to say another thing we have been sort of loosely talking about a little bit is kind of doing a little bit of an unplugged of a couple of key songs in our back catalog. But, again, trying to find the time to do that and working on a new album, it's almost kind of like that's a little bit of a redundancy. But if we have the time and the resources, it'll present itself. Well, yeah. But that's the only other thing we've been actually scratching with. But that's about it.
Well, I'll tell you, if you'd like any feedback at all, I think that would be a cool thing to do. But I would say this, that if you're going to do something like that, like you want it to be really special when you put it out. You want people to, you don't want to just put something out half-assed. I mean, one of my all-time favorite Unplugged things is like, for example, Kiss Unplugged. I mean, I'm a huge Kiss fan, but like that Unplugged stuff of their classic songs, I mean, it's like nothing they did before, and people just really reacted to that. So if you're going to do it, like, as they say, do it right. But I think people would really dig that because, for one thing, I bet when you do it Unplugged that some of the versions of songs, they would sound a lot different than, electrified.
You're absolutely correct. And if we are going to do it, you probably see this. We're either 0 or 110.
Yeah.
There's no in between, man. So yeah, and if we were going to do it, we would probably take a couple of songs that people wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And rearrange them. Maybe even a heavy song. Arrange it in a mellow and unplugged way to give it a different feel. But again, so many things, so many options. I think the main thing is working on new material for another album.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever happens in between, hey, it happens.
Oh, that's a perfect time to do, like you said, put out a new album first, and then like maybe in between that and then the next project. But yeah, that'd be a cool thing. And also, if you do an Unplugged CD or whatever, besides doing all your great original songs that you want to do Unplugged versions of, you could also throw in a cover or two like that, and that would be cool. Or I could even see you guys doing Unplugged of maybe something like even the Eagles, and probably would be cool.
Yeah, we just got to keep people engaged and just keep it exciting and not let it get stale, And like I said, we got a lot of things going through our brains constantly, and Gordon and I are in the band. We're very energetic. We're go-getters. We're very organized, and we plan. And that's a big part of our success as well, is how organized and planning skilled we are.
Yeah.
And but we just keep pushing. We don't want anything to go scale. This is all music related, and that's where all of our efforts and focus go into the visuals and the audio of it all.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is one thing I'm looking forward to doing later days. I ordered Deep Purple's coming out with a new covers album today. Like they've never done anything like that. And I was listening. They have this song on there called. Aerosmith did a version of this years ago called Rockin' Ammonia, the Boogie Woogie Flu. And they released that a couple days before the album came out, a video for that. And it sounds nothing like Deep Purple. It sounds, which is kind of cool, like them doing an old blues tune, which it is. But and I dig that for the fact that it's you can tell it's Deep Purple, but it sounds so different from what they do. So again, that's going to be a fun thing to check out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that, man. I'd love to definitely check that out.
And so we're going to get ready to wrap this up because I know you guys got things to do and you're busy. But how was your Thanksgiving yesterday?
It was really good. We traveled about a 9 or 10 hour travel day yesterday. We landed in Connecticut to eat some Thanksgiving dinner. We actually found a place that we can all sit down and relax for a couple of hours. Had a really nice Thanksgiving dinner with the guys, our driver, our merch guy Brandon, our drum tech Chris, our guitar tech Michael Wolf in the band, and so it was really, really nice. And then we drove another couple of hours to get to New Hampshire last night and landed in our hotel. We got a show here later on this evening, so we're just kind of resting up, getting ready for that, and we're starting another stretch of our tour.
And so,
another thing, it was the first time in many years, actually 23 years, I wasn't with my wife and my family on Thanksgiving. So it was a little bittersweet. I mean,
yeah.
I miss them a lot more, but she's so understanding. She's been with me since day one and totally supported the dream. So if I couldn't be home, there was no other place in the world I'd rather be than on tour with my brothers.
Yeah, and when you guys go on long tours like this, I imagine you call and check on with the family and do FaceTime and all that.
Oh yeah,
daily.
Yeah, everybody checks in daily and sees what's happening and sees the big pile of list of stuff we have to do when we get home. But it's all good. Luckily for me, my dad and my son are out on tour with me. They're helping with the driving duties, and my son's running the merch for us. So
cool.
I got a little bit of family here, so it helped a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. And what's it like for your son to kind of see dad kind of living out the rock and roll dream? Like, does he want to follow in your footsteps? And
oh no, not at all. I wouldn't want him to either.
Yeah.
No, my son actually is training to be a pilot right now.
Oh, how cool!
He just turned 21. He's almost got his pilot's license, and he's a very smart, outgoing kid. Great driver. He's very smart with all the technical stuff, and so he's like my assistant tour manager right now. He's coming making it happen for us, man. The kid's just brilliant. So it's a big asset for us on the tour. And of course, my dad brings a lot of years of experience in driving. We have 14,000 miles to drive on this tour.
Oh wow!
And we went through 5,000 already. So we got a long way to go. It's a long stretch. So we need all the help we can get on that.
So you guys have a show, you said tonight. I was curious. Do you every night? Do you have the same set list, or do you change it up ever?
It kind of varies a little bit, but it's generally pretty much the same. We have a set amount of time that we can play, and that's it. So we wanted to really grab, put our best foot forward as much as we can.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And in regards to touring with Yngwie, have you guys ever had the opportunity to meet the man or interact with him? The reason I asked is I was talking to somebody that had done a show with him, and they were saying he kind of keeps to himself, but they said they were hanging out with the rest of the band. What's your experience been like?
Well, and that's pretty much right. I mean, he's a very detailed, critical person when it comes to music business. His sound checks are very long. And he does. He keeps to himself, especially with the COVID stuff going on.
You can understand.
Sometimes he's not doing his meet and greets right now. Sometimes he is. I think he's starting to do them now again. Now that he sees things are a little bit relaxed and okay, from what we can tell. But yeah, to be honest with you, I ran into him just a couple times on tour, fist bumped him, and that's about it. He's very much to himself. He doesn't come out and really interact with anyone. Now his band does. And they're very, very cool guys, and we're doing good. It's just it's a little different for us because we're used to a certain standard, and we don't always get to have that, and that's okay. We understand. We're here to support,
but we definitely respect everything. All his decisions and everything because the last thing we want is for him to get sick. So for him to kind of be, I guess, behind the scenes and with very little contact, we totally understand. And I would probably do the same thing, given that, if something happens to him, then a lot of money's going out the door. So we've all been doing everything we can to stay healthy. And, when we get, like Steve said, whenever we do run into him, it's a fist bump. How you doing? He's cordial to us. So it's all good.
Oh, that's cool. I love hearing that, though. I was curious, you guys got this great tour, and you're looking for other tour opportunities. You said in the new year, but do you think you're at the point where you're ready to headline, or you want to continue kind of opening for other bands right now?
Well, I think it's going to work itself out as we go. And no, I don't always want to stay here at the bottom. No, I want to get up there and headline. But right now we've got to get a little more well known. There's a lot of people just don't know who we are yet. So with that being said, we have no choice but to do some opening slots, and that's perfectly fine. It's serving us well. We're doing new fans every night. Our message is working. People are grabbing hold of it. They're getting it. So eventually we're going to get there. We're working hard.
I think you're at the point where maybe if you do get another album or two out there by then, by the time you do get to that headlining status, you'll have plenty of your own material to kind of put in the set. A lot more than what you can put in a set as an opening band.
Oh yeah, and absolutely. And just kind of piggyback what Steve said, we noticed a definite difference between Metal Church to this time. 2 years ago with Metal Church when we had our Soul Rise album that came out. This time, it's great. You get into the audience, you see people, a couple people wearing your shirts. You see occasionally somebody singing along to every song in a different city. So you can tell the message is getting out there. You can tell that people are latching on, but it's definitely a marathon and not a sprint.
And see, what's cool about this tour that you guys are on is obviously, if for people that are Yngwie fans and they're into that like guitar shredder type of music, he's great at that. But then, you guys come on and you open the show, and you're something totally different from what people might expect, to open up for Yngwie. And I think that's why people are reacting the way they are on this tour, because the two acts are so different, and yet you have something kind of unique and great to offer our audience.
But you know what? You're absolutely correct. But at the same time, we think it was a perfect tour for us because the Yngwie fans have been very receptive of us. I mean, I look back to his old albums, Trilogy, Marching Out, where, it's, the similar, with like the keyboards in metal, vocals, so, I mean, it's definitely a comparable it's a comparable match, but it's different enough to keep it interesting. I totally agree with you.
And it rises up it puts Images of Eden a little higher up, like you said, especially with John5 dropping out of the tour. People are now even more aware of this band, Images of Eden, than they were a year ago.
Yeah, like I said, we're gaining new fans every night. It's a big deal to us. I mean, so yeah, like Gordon said, we're working hard and we're building every day. In every show, in every city we go to, we're building. So we're just gonna keep doing that.
And I don't know about the other guys in the band, but I want to tell you guys, people listening to this interview, that I always love talking to Steve and Gordon. They're great, friendly, down-to-earth guys, and they always give great interviews. But besides that, the band really has a great chemistry. A lot of times you do these interviews, and you have one guy that's like the spokesperson of the band, and he does all the interviews. You never hear from the other guys. Anytime I've done an interview with Images of Eden, it's always been you two guys together. One guy does not, out-talk the other guy. You both give each other kind of equal chance to kind of answer the questions. And no offense, Steve, but you're not even an original member of the band, and it's not like I can tell by the way you and Gordon interact. It's not like you're treated like a hired hand, or hey, you're not a full-time member, whatever. And I dig that,
This is Gordon. I'd like to speak to that. The very first 3 albums, I pretty much had to do everything, and it was a major struggle. And then I connected with Steve after the 3rd album, Rebuilding the Ruins. We worked together on a project, Born of Fire, which was sort of Steve's baby. And we released that together, and it was just like a perfect match, like a perfect partnership. Right then and there, we said, okay, I let him hear the demos for Soul Rise, and he said, I want in. I said, okay, brother, we're partners, and that's the way it's going to be, because I've never kind of opened the door to anyone else
before,
because I didn't find the right person who would actually take it seriously, give it the amount of effort that it needed. And as soon as Steve came on board, we combined every ounce of resource that we have together, and that's when we sort of sprungboard. Yeah. So that's when we hit the springboard a little bit further. And it could not be a better fit. Absolutely, man. I'm glad you mentioned that.
I love hearing that, because it tells you, like, the fact that you guys were friends and worked in other bands together. It sounds like it was so meant to be, and it sounds like, since Steve's been in the band, no offense, Gordon, to what came before, but the band is getting that much better, that more bigger with each release, and I think that just tells you, the fact that you and him decided to team up, it was the right call.
Yeah, and this is Steve, and when we teamed up and we all kind of seen eye to eye on everything musically, then we took our business minds and we put our business minds together and we rebranded everything and just kind of restarted everything, and that's how we started rolling, working hard doing that.
And I think that makes sense too, because maybe you're a little bigger, you got somebody else managing the band, but nobody is going to promote the hell out of your band better than you guys are,
Yeah, I have to laugh because we even talked about that recently. Even if we were to blow up tomorrow to the international status, Steve and I would continue to manage everything. We're never going to let this go.
Yeah, everything's pretty much in-house except for an official booking agent, even though we do some bookings too.
Yeah.
Our management team is Gordon and I, and we handle that in full. All our video production, direction is all in-house. So we're pretty self-sufficient. All of our recording is all in-house. So it's all within our circle, all within our control, and that's all by design as well. So we keep a high quality standard on everything. We never let anything go out, anything under that.
Yeah, and here's the final question for today, guys, because again, I know you got things to do, but you mentioned touring with Metal Church, and I got to ask, how surprised I know I was when we learned of the, sad circumstance behind Metal Church lead singer Mike Howe's death recently. I mean, how surprised were you when that news broke?
I'm just going to tell you how it was for me. When we got onto the Metal Church tour, day one, I walked up to Mike Howe, because I've been listening to them ever since middle school. And I thanked him. I said, Mike, thank you so much for having us on tour. And he shook his head, no, thank you for being on tour with us. Every single time you talked to him, he was the most uplifting person, very sincere gentleman. I mean, he set the bar for the way you should treat people. And, I got sick in Dallas, Texas when we were on tour. Couldn't do the show, got bronchitis. He was the first one to reach out to Steve and ask how I was doing. I mean, come on. That tells you everything about him. So when we heard the news, we were kind of devastated, man. It was really brutal. And then we went out for 3 days with Yngwie in late July, early August, right after it happened. And we dedicated those 3 shows to the memory of Mike Howe. Mike was amazing. And we want Mike and Metal Church to be remembered for the amazing musicians they are, for the amazing contribution that they've given to the metal world over the years. And hopefully when everybody hears the name Mike Howe, they remember him for everything good that he is, that he still is, how much he's enhanced people's lives through his music.
Yeah, I mean, when his death was first announced, I mean, first of all, it's a shocking thing because you think, oh, what the heck could he have died? He was so young. But then I think that was, like you said, what was really shocked me and a lot of people when we learned it was a suicide was, like you look at, anytime like the guy would talk, he seemed like one of the most happiest guys on the planet. But that just goes to show you.
That's the strange thing about that, because no one detected it, not even his own band.
Yeah,
and we're still friends with those guys today. I mean, I just talked to Seth Howland just yesterday. He was happy about everything going on the tour. We're all buddies now, but it's when you put that in perspective, like wow. I mean, so just to go back to our point, some of our music that we put out is for the people who have that hidden pain, that need help, that need the answer, because boy, I sure don't want to see that ever happen to anybody else ever again. To know somebody's struggling and you're right there next to them and you can help them, but you had no idea. You know what I mean? So it's certainly sad. I know he had a great family, wife, kids just got out of medical school.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty devastating.
Yeah, and that just goes to show sometimes people, they go through whatever they're going through in their personal life, and they put on a front, they put on a mask, they hide it well, as they say, and we have no idea until it's too late. But in my case, I guess we could say maybe he's no longer suffering with whatever he was dealing with. He's left behind a huge legacy of music for his fans to kind of continue to listen to and remember him for. So that's kind of where I want to leave it. But I'd imagine too, it's kind of when you hear news like that somebody that you were actually on tour with, it's got to hit you like, wow, that guy, I remember talking to him. I remember experiences we had with him. Wow, I'll always.
It absolutely does. And just to put the period on the end of the sentence too, whenever we're asked the question, and we are asked the question frequently, we don't even scratch on how it happened. We don't even like to give any kind of we don't even like to even bring that up. We want to talk about how great he was, how great his music was, and how awesome those guys were, and let everybody remember them for that, and not what happened and how it happened.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only reason I bring it up is like a lot of Metal Church fans, or music fans, I guess. I was shocked and kind of saddened, obviously, when the news broke, and it was just kind of shocking. But you're absolutely right. Let's remember him for the music that he left behind, because I think that's probably what he'd want people to remember him for.
Absolutely.
Anything else, you guys? It's as we end this today. Slate's interview with Images of Eden. We got 5 more weeks until the new year. How do you guys plan to wrap up the new year? Anything special?
Well, we're just after we get done with tour, we're going to go spend the holidays with our families, and that's pretty much it. But a message I would like to give everybody right now: if you have not picked up the Angel Board record, I really recommend you give it a try, because there's a lot of substance in there, and it's something for everyone. And it's a very special record, and it's for the fans, okay? It's for you. And one thing I really recommend you go and check out the animation in the Steel World video. You can see it on YouTube, Vivo. It's out there circulating around. It's our opinion of the snapshot that we're living in this world today. I really encourage everybody to check it out. It really means a lot to us.
And to add to that, Jason, the one thing, this is the 5th Images of Eden album, and a lot of people don't know that. of anything I've ever, this is Gordon, of anything that I've ever had my name on, this is the most personal album I've ever done. I mean, this album is about and for anyone who has lost anyone over the last couple of years. We think the timing is perfect. I had a little bit of a tragedy that I dealt with, and I really believe my healing was the writing of this album. I don't care whatever happens after this album. There's always going to be the most special place in my heart for Angel Born because of what I felt. And I know that if you've lost somebody, this album's for you. I guarantee it. I mean, I was healed during the writing of this album. We believe that there is very real healing power, that if you are going through a loss or a devastation or anything, give it a listen. Try to let it in. Music speaks to the soul. It speaks beyond the intellectual. It speaks into the soul, and it has the ability to heal if you allow it. We firmly believe that, and we feel like anyone who is suffering can really benefit from something on this album. Yeah. And we want to thank you so much for giving us this platform, brother.
Oh, yeah, anytime. And I think that's why some of these songs have touched people, Gordon, because you can tell, no offense, but you can tell when a guy is writing from his cock versus, from his heart. And what I mean by that is I think anybody listens to this album and they can tell that these are songs that probably you experienced, like you said, through your own personal life or things you went through. And to me, when I listen to music, I get off on like people that are great storytellers, like when they write their songs, like you can tell this guy, he went through something.
Oh yeah, and many of these songs, somewhere during the writing and or recording process, I had emotional moments to where I actually had to stop, take my headphones off, and walk it off, man. There were some really rough times during the writing and recording, and some of it was painful, some of it was cathartic. But at the end of the day, I don't care, because if it evoked that kind of emotion out of me during the writing process, I knew that it was going to come across genuine. There was no way that it could not come across genuine, knowing how I was affected during the writing. Yeah,
Steve, that's the word genuine I want to use, because I want to make clear on this. I'm not happy that you went through a rough patch of life or whatever, but I'm happy that we got a song out of it. I'm happy, or like when I listen to stuff like that, I can listen to a song and I kind of feel like, wow, this is like a page out of this guy's life, something he went through, and he's sharing it with us.
That's what it's about, brother. Yeah.
Well, you guys take care, and thanks for doing the interview. I'm gonna try to post the interview sometime next week, and as soon as I get a concrete date on that, I'll let you guys know, and you're welcome to post it anywhere you wish. But you guys have a great rest of the year, and we'll be catching up in the new year.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having us today. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jason.
Take care. Bye-bye.